Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast.
Sam, you opened up a can of worms today in the show. Not really a can of worms. An interesting question about why moms typically want to be the ones doing the doctor's appointments for the kids and the pets and running that sort of thing. Why moms, that was the question, right? Why is it moms? And you had experiences with being the one to do it every once in a great while in the past?
Yeah, because it seemed like every time I would do it, I would get 20 questions after that I didn't think to ask, or I didn't know were on the agenda to ask. It's just, I went in, you go in as yourself and, he's here for shots and that was it. Well, did you ask about this? Did you ask about that? And it's like, no.
It's something I never really thought about until you asked that question. It's certainly the case for us, Murphy. When the kids were little, but I wanted to do that. I wanted to be the one taking them to the doctors because I wanted to ask the questions and be on top of everything, kind of the lead in that arena.
I think my experience here, I've been married 3 times, is that the mom does want to handle most of it.
Yes, and is very specific about how thorough it is done.
Yeah, and I'm comfortable with that zone. To me, that's sort of like the teamwork thing because I do know what'll happen if I go. And this is for anything that I do, even though like I handle all the the finances in our family, and if I go meet with a CPA, I'm going to have to take notes because there's no way I'm going to commit all that to memory. Because, much like going to the doctor, I'll get home from the CPA and Jodi will ask, how did it go? And I'm like, it went fine.
Yeah, same answer.
So what happened? We owe again. I don't know.
What? That example right there, you want to handle that stuff. If you had,
I'm grateful that you want to handle that.
Yeah, if you sent Jodi to do it and she came back and you were like, what did he say about that? And it's like,
I wouldn't be able to.
But it's an area of,
I realize that's fine with me. I mean, you kind of answered your own question when you asked the question because you've lived it. And so, same thing. It was fine with me to if Jodi was going to the doctor, I knew that she would get all the details. And I knew if I missed a detail, it would be a phone call ask on the way there. Hey, make sure that you. Yeah.
I remember having this conversation with a girlfriend of mine who had babies after I did. So our kids were older, not grown, but our kids were older, probably middle schoolish when she was having babies. And she was a very on top of everything mom, just like I was, almost to the point of insanity, just knew every little thing. It had to be the right shoes. It had to be the right blanket. It had to be this is what had to be packed for lunch, on it. And she was frustrated with her husband because he could not do that. And he just did not do things the way she, it's like I said, it's right there. How can you not? And I remember saying to her, he's not wired that way.
Yeah.
He wants to be, he obviously loves the children but he is not wired that way. If you are wired that way in a relationship, you can't necessarily expect it of the partner. That's why.
Well, that's why they're partners. If you were exactly alike, I guess that could be a perk. You'd also, collide
Correct.
into each other. And I think it goes beyond just the maternal instinct. I don't know. I think just some people are just wired better. I'm a disaster in the grocery store. Because if I don't have a list to follow and stick to it, I am because I am the classic, this looks great. I want to try that. Let's bring this home.
It's too much.
Right. And so, I literally get lost.
So you go to the store and buy things you want, not things you need.
He comes home with a huge package of paper towels and 2 apples. And it's like,
what are you going to do with this?
Right.
Well, I'm going to eat the apple, and when it gets on my hands, I'm going to wipe it up with the paper towels.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah. It's if I set out with a list that that's fine. But see, to me, even if I knew what you told me I would have to go get at the grocery store and didn't make that, it would not click with me. Because I'm just not wired that way.
Do you know that
I don't think enough ahead for a meal or something like that, which is probably why I'm prone to, when Jodi's out of town, I'm not likely to be making anything for myself. I'm going to be, because
ordering a number 3.
Well, no, not fast food. I don't do that. Right.
Okay.
I don't do fast food. Except for, it's constantly, I guess what I'm saying.
This reminds me of a conversation I had with the owner of a deli once.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
I was in
What
there.
happens when Murphy walks into a deli?
He orders several things.
Yeah.
I was standing there trying to decide, what to get, like chicken breast, or do I want some of these salads that are pre-made? And I was taking my time with that decision. And he's the owner of this grocery and deli. And he said to me, and I do kind of know him because I'm a customer. He said to me, yeah, I know you're not ready. He says, women never. They stand here for, 5 minutes to 10 minutes before they're ready. Men walk in and know exactly what they want. And I was like, that's wonderful. I said, it's probably because, I said, she, just like me, I'm standing here thinking, how many people am I feeding? Can I make this last for leftovers? What's the best use?
Yeah.
I'm making 10 decisions.
With a guy, it's an impulse.
With a guy, he walks in and he needs 2 fillets, period. And it's more simple. I really do think that in many, many ways, a man's mind is more singularly focused and fantastic, and I envy it. Because when, things are happening, it's 100 things for me at one time. I can do it because I'm wired that way. But, that's when I'm standing at the grocery store deli, I'm thinking, yes, but Phoebe doesn't like that, so let me get something for Phoebe that's different. You're thinking ahead, not just in the moment.
Yeah, me, if I'm staring at the meat case, I'm thinking about something that happened at work earlier in the day. Kind of lost in my own thoughts.
Nothing related to me.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But again, I think that it probably does vary by family because, Sam, you've always in your previous relationships been the cook. So you've been the grocery shopper. So you're probably wired to, you know how to put it all together.
Yeah, honestly, when you were discussing what you were mentioning about yourself, when I go to the grocery, it's a combination.
Oh, really?
I'll have a list.
Yeah.
But then it's like, ooh, they got the Post Malone Oreos. Hey, I need some of those. Or, it's just random stuff
Best of both worlds. Good for you.
Yeah.
And I bet that was problematic, not to dig too deep, but I bet that was problematic for you in your past relationships because you almost have that maternal mind when it comes to sort of running a household. And did you ever butt heads?
Yeah, I needed to let some things go.
Yeah.
And even when I let things go and let the partner take care of things, I would still.
You'd go back behind her?
Needs more salt.
Yeah. Why are you using the big bowl? You didn't need the big bowl.
Right.
All you need is a little bowl. You're dirtying up too many bowls, just stupid stuff like that.
Wow. See, what you just said, that would have been a problem for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why Sam is single. Well, one of the reasons.
Anyway, all people are wired a little bit differently. And categorically, women are wired in certain ways, and especially.
Well, and my mom, I think about that. My mom was one of those that could keep everything on schedule. She always knew what needed to be done by when. My grandmother, and I guess everybody has different priorities on that sort of thing also, because my grandmother was all about the planning part for family, but she also planned the family get-togethers because that social aspect was so important to her with everybody getting together. She was the glue that kept the family together. As you know that, Jodi. You've been married to me long enough to have known my grandmother and both my parents, and I love my mom, but she was not one to start a get-together. My grandmother, the get-togethers were always at my grandmother's house, but when my grandmother passed, that kind of, changed.
Yeah.
But my mother was great with details, so I don't know why she wouldn't do that. But I think my grandmother's mind was one of those that if it was a Sunday get-together, she could actually picture in her mind that if it was going to be 20 different family members showing up over the course of the weekend, how to make that happen. And there was not going to be any shortage of food or stuff in the freezer to hand and send you on your way with or whatever. Her mind was always wired like that.
Yeah. A woman's mind is a busy place and an emotional place and a thinking ahead type place. I think women are some of the best predictors and thinking ahead. And I think that men are beautifully more in the moment. And it's just a fact. I'm not saying it as a law either. Everyone is different. But sure. I will say that if you're newly married and you have small children especially, that's where you hit bumps, because if you disagree on how that is all to go, that makes a difficult time, a busy, stress-filled time already. It makes it harder. You can't expect someone to think like you. You can't expect you from yourself.
Right.
And you just have to realize, okay, I'm going to handle this because I can handle this better or in a way that works better for the family.
I also wonder, a little flip on that one, is what a pediatrician thinks when dad shows up as opposed to mom. No, I don't mean in a mean way. I just mean if a guy shows up with a kid who's just I'm just here for the shots, no questions.
You're thinking they're going to say, I'm going to give you a rebate because you're not going to catch half of what I'm saying.
Let me tell you this, too, and let me tell you that because, I know you're going to go home and get questions.
Yeah.
Or if mom shows up, it's like, okay, good, we're good.
I think, my experience with the pediatrician, and maybe everyone is different, but he would always send papers home.
Yeah.
It would always be
That's true.
here's what's going on. So that was never,
Here, Jody.
Right, exactly. I had no problem with the follow-up on the pediatrician because I had it right there in my hand.
I was glad of that. And sometimes you're tired. Sometimes you're juggling more than one kid. And when your kid is sick, to me, I was always especially stressed when they were sick.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would get home and not even be able to relate to you always, what I was told, although I knew what to do based on what I had been told, as if it was my absolute law, religious, like I had to do it, whatever he said to get this kid well or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you go to an appointment, if you get too much information, it doesn't matter how great your mind is. You can't kind of repeat it.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for taking Sparky to the vet this week.
I have no
do
clue what the
appreciate
vet said.
Not true. Not true.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jody podcast.